which is a consulting and service company in innovation, digital innovation in healthcare. And I'm very pleased today to welcome Florent Edouard from Grünenthal. Florent, you will be asked to introduce yourself in a minute, and also some of my colleagues from Digital Pharma Lab. We've got Sarah Zian, we've got Thomas Douglas, and we've got Lilian Reversa. So they are all employees from Digital Pharma Lab, and they have a lot of experience in healthcare, in digital in healthcare. So let's start. Florent, you will be interviewed by Sarah today. So let's start.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on generative AI, how to boost productivity in every line of business, the Grünenthal success. Please, if you have any questions, we'll take them on the fly, on the go, so don't hesitate to ask them, and we'll take it. We are honored today to have Florent Edouard. Florent, hello. Please, could you introduce yourself to everyone?
Hello. Can you hear me well? Yeah?
Yes.
All good. So, yeah, I'm Florent. I'm French, living in the Netherlands, working for a German company after spending some time in the UK, in Japan, and a bit around the world. So I'm working for Grünenthal, where I'm head of Global Commercial Excellence. Global Comex means we operate everything around analytics and insights, everything on market research, but also defining the way we commercialize the products. So we launch omnichannel, we launch customer experience, we are managing launch excellence for the products. We also have the academy that allows us to teach the people, and we collaborated in that academy together. And thanks for your great contribution to educating our people. And we also own in Comex, so everything around AI, big data, predictive models, and all the platforms. So the websites, Salesforce Marketing Cloud, we got team members currently on the Salesforce event preaching what we've done. So we have a pretty advanced stack, and I've got the honor and the pleasure to lead that team so that we can help Grünenthal, our patients, and our customers.
Right, thank you. Just before continuing, we also welcome Martin, which is here with us today. Martin, if you'd like to introduce yourself in a few words.
Yes, thanks. Thanks for having me. So my name is Maarten van Essen. I work as a consultant, also liaising with different companies, but always on the topic of customer engagement. My special interest is customer experience and digital transformation. I have almost 20 years of experience in the pharmaceutical industry at different levels for different type of engagements. And I'm very happy to share my thoughts today about how Gen AI can actually contribute to the omni-channel customer engagement practices we're driving.
Right, thank you. So obviously today we're here to talk about generative AI, which is a fairly new and complex technology. So people have to be trained to really learn how to use it, to start becoming AI powered and actually start boosting productivity. But it's quite a complex thing to do. So Florent, what kind of training on generative AI have you conducted and deployed at Grünenthal?
So the training is the consequence of all the strategy we've implemented. I think, when we saw the rise, and let's be honest, everyone saw it happening like 18 months ago with GPT models. When we saw that happening, that kind of reminded us of the events that happened before. And there's not that many events in a lifetime, like the rise of the internet or the rise of the mobile phones, right? Internet brought us a lot of connectivity and a lot of tools. The mobile phone brought us the platform economy and the different apps. And suddenly we see that Gen AI coming in, and we're just like, holy crap, that's going to change everything. So what we decided to do was, okay, let's try to strategize how we want to approach that. Innovation from the roots, but in a controlled way. So we launched pilots. But then at the same time, we knew that fundamentally the step to generative AI is a people problem. It is educating a whole organization on working differently in the future. So we said, okay, you know what? Let's go and let's try to train hands-on people on generative AI. And we decided to go hands-on for, practical training. How do you use it in your daily life? How do you boost your productivity? One, because those tools were available. Two, because we really think that it's by creating that familiarity and that daily experience that people will stick to the concept. We have been through, for instance, as a reference, the whole omni-channel thing. And we train quickly the people on omni-channel, assuming, it's going to be easy. They're going to get it, instead of having a rep with a detail head, they're going to do omni-channel. And it was not that straightforward for the people. It requires a complete rewiring from the marketeers to think omni-channel instead of single channel. And then we said, for generative AI, let's get them rolling with tools hands-on, and then they're going to be more familiar, and it's going to help the whole implementation. So that's why we selected you, because one of the reasons we selected you to help us in the rollout of the training.
Right. So what kind of approach did you have during these trainings? What did you actually teach?
Well, we teach them to do. So, I mean, so there are multiple things. One, we need to give them a vision. In 20 years from now, we will live in a world where every one of us has in his or her pocket or in the ear the best lawyer, the best digital advisor, the best financial advisor, because that's a Gen AI. So we need to get people ready for that. To get ready for that, we need to take the fears away. It's not going to be Terminator. The world is not going to end because of Gen AI. But it's also, okay, how do I use it practically? How do I have fun? How do I connect to my kids? Or, my younger brother who is using Gen AI on a daily basis and doesn't even understand that I don't know it. So that was a mix of vision, a mix of, okay, this is what's happening in the marketplace and in the industry, and really a deep competitive learning, fun training, building stuff, using the tools so that they get really hands-on experience.
Right. I think having an empirical approach, focusing on practice, it is what really sticks with people, right? So the generative AI train has already launched and is going very, very fast. So why did you decide to go now and with such conviction?
Well, it's a synchronization thing. We think, so we have launched all our AI pilots in December last year, right? We selected them. Then from January, the people were starting to work on them. We get them validated. And, I used to say I hate pilots. We in pharma have more pilot than the airline industry. It's not me saying that. There was someone, can't remember the name. So credits to that great mind. But in this case, it is learning pilots where we try to understand what the technology is, how we manipulate it, and how we can practically make it work. So it's not a pilot just to prove that we can do it. It's just really to learn. And at the same time, it was really important that when those pilots are going to land and we're going to scale, like next best action or the buddies or some of the projects we have, the people are ready to take them and run and do their business with them. So it was really important to synchronize the training of the functions and the launch of the capabilities.
Okay, thank you. Just a reminder for the audience, if you have any questions about the content of the trainings, for example, please don't hesitate. We'll take them. So Florent, what was the benefits of working with an external vendor and especially Digital Pharma Lab, obviously?
So I'm a big fan of the partnerships with external vendors for everything that we do, because we're a mid-sized company. So we don't have the possibility to build, for instance, in-house, a complete team that's going to scan the market permanently and identify the latest trend and stuff. So that's why, you are really well placed. You got a team of people that are absolutely passionate and that scan the market and look at it and say, okay, this is good, this is bad, this is what we can do. And then you bring it to us. So that means our training is never the same. Because there's nothing worse on something that moves as fast as Gen AI as to have one mandated training for everyone and you do the same for 12 months. If you remember the first training we were doing, every image we generated had 6 or 7 fingers, right? Yes. In the current, it's not the case anymore. So the thing is evolving so fast that we need someone scanning and adjusting the training in real time. And we, mid-sized company, don't have the capability to do that.
Right, yes, that's true. Unfortunately, one keyword that keeps coming back when talking about generative AI is fear. Today, on the French level, 8 out of 10 people have still yet not used any generative AI tools. And on a global level, small and medium enterprises, about 72% of managers have still not yet used any tools. So how do you commit your employees to a technology that is so innovative but also yet so frightening?
Fun. I mean, when we do the training, we have a lot of fun. They compete, they create, they are, and we tell them, you are in a safe space. There is nothing like a mistake, there are only learnings. So in that safe space, have fun, test the thing, make it your own, come with your problems and see if the tool can help you change your problem and find a better solution. I think that was really important for us, that this shouldn't be, we didn't take it, for instance, from the history of AI and blah, 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 first generation, second, which is very boring for everyone. If you want to hear about that, go on the internet, you will find a lot of trainings on that. What we want you to do is take that tool and make your daily life simpler, better. And they just love it.
Right, thank you. We have some questions.
Yes. Florent, you compare the rise of Gen AI with the rise of internet. Okay, but do you think the business impact will be similar, bigger, smaller, different?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, my first job in pharma was KPI director. So I'm a fan of managing, measuring, and calculating ROIs. I can't say if it's going to be bigger, but I know it's going to be massive. One, by the size of the investment that go into it. Two, by the fact that it's a societal thing. The kids that are in primary school, secondary school right now are born with AI in their hands. Their world will be full of AI, like they are born with a mobile phone or internet. They can't comprehend a world where you don't use those tools. It makes no sense to them. So the impact is going to be absolutely massive. And it's going to be on every one of us. The great thing, if you think about it, in terms of innovation, is Gen AI is something that is cheap. To create a business with Gen AI today, with the platform that we have and the tools that are available, you don't need hundreds of millions. And that's what makes it really appealing for any entrepreneur, innovator that wants to drive growth and create business.
Okay, another one. Hello, Florent. Thank you for your testimony. Did you run the learning pilot all across the markets, or did you pick some of them?
So we did the drug dealer thing. We gave samples for free. People got hooked, and then they talked to other people saying how great it is. And word of mouth is your best selling tool. And honestly, so we started small with the group of Central Comex. Then we went to some markets. We showed, we could be doing that. We engaged with the senior management, because one of the things I've learned in all my years educating Salesforce is, if you don't talk to the boss in the first time and you don't make them proficient on the technology, the whole organization is going to lag. So by making sure the general managers knew the basics and could understand the vision, we were sure that we would not face resistance in the markets. And then the people are excited, they love it. So they just want to do it. We just have to create a frame and make sure we deliver with high quality the training. That, we had this week a huge discussion in-house, for instance, should we do those pilots, should we do those training remotely? And I was like, hell no. It's a hands-on collective team experience of discovering, learning, having fun, building new stuff. You don't do that remotely. We can do remotely a lot of things, but if you want a lecture, do it remotely. If you want personal execution, manipulation, you need to be in the same room.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for these answers. And if you have any more questions talking to the audience, don't hesitate, keep them coming. So there's a real desire at Grünenthal to dive in and experiment. A key phrase for you is ask and we'll tell you if it's possible. And that's a great statement. How did you come up with it? And is it a matter of culture for you?
We launched 3 or 4 years ago a big thing for us, which was we are in a safe place to work. And that was really super important. That's when we were experimenting stuff. And when you experiment stuff, you always have the naysayers, and it's not going to work. So when we launched omnichannel, people were like, well, that's just a fad coming from, COVID. It's going to die with the end of the lockdowns. Don't do it. When we launched customer experience, it's the same thing. People were like, well, we don't need to do customer experience. Actually, our products sell by themselves. And fundamentally, to be able to, for the teams to thrive, you need to tell them, you know what, you're allowed to try and you're allowed to fail and learn and redo it and be successful. And that's how we brought it in, which is, there is no stupid question. There is really no bad answer if you don't know. You just keep asking the question until you get the right answer. And that was really a cultural thing that we've built inside the commercial organization, and I think in broader Grünenthal.
Right. This is a great mindset to have, especially when talking about innovative technologies, right? But on the other hand, I believe you can sometimes be limited in resources, right? So is it a constraint for you or more a source of agility in this transformational space?
So we are limited in resources by our size. So that's why our approach is what I would call, and I mean, I'm just quoting the finance guy there, it's a zero-based budgeting approach. It's not because you have money last year that you're going to get money this year. Come, make your proposal and say what business impact you want to have. And based on that assumed business impact, then we can fund your project. And that's a way you can place your money on pilots, proof of concept, new ideas, new things that you believe will generate value for the company, for the customer, for the patients. And that's how we spread our money over a certain number of things. Also, we are, the procurement team, I think, has a nickname for me. I'm kind of the renegade, because when someone comes to me and says, I want to do a pilot with you, I'm like, okay, fine. And they tell me it's going to be $500,000. And I'm telling them I can give you not even a tenth of that. That's it. It's a negotiation tactic that is not really appreciated by my friends in procurement. They say this is ruthless, this is daylight robbery, you cannot do that. And I'm like, sorry, I don't have the money and I don't want to pay $500,000 on a pilot. I can't afford it. So that's how we spread our resources.
Right, thank you. So now for the big question, what benefits have you observed since deploying your trainings in January of this year? What key learnings do your teams get?
Traceability. I have meeting minutes for every one of my meetings. That is a very simple thing, but every minute is recorded. We have action list and people follow up on the action. That is a massive improvement on the organization itself. I have observed more appetite for innovation, trying new things, doing experimentation at scale with less fear. And that's building, also the capability in the people to think differently, to approach the business differently. So we are now in the pilot phase. So I can't, the KPI director in me cannot say we have already generated a lot of savings or a lot of uplift in sales, but we have a tangible framework by which we will measure the impact of all those pilots before we decide to scale them up or down.
Right. Thank you. In a moment, we'll dive into our use case mapping done by our partner Indigen. But before that, we have a few questions.
Yes, Florent, hello again. So one of the questions is, what specific AI tools do you recommend we use and for what purposes?
that in itself is a long discussion because it all depends the problem you want to solve. I think if it's for general education, honestly, for training, go purchase a ChatGPT for license and get the people to play with it and learn and educate themselves. Then, you can go for stuff like Copilot, but that requires working with your IT organization to make the Copilot. So I would say in between ChatGPT and Copilot, you can create familiarity in the organization appetite for more, and you initiate the thinking in the organization. Okay, what could we do with that stuff? Now, if you're talking drug discovery, so I'm more in commercial than in R&D, right? But if you're talking drug discovery, or if you're talking AI-based forecasting or this type of thing, you need more solid data and infrastructure thing. So you need a proper project with the right partners, and there are a lot of partners. But for instance, if you want to do a next best action and you have Salesforce Marketing Cloud implemented, that's super easy. They can give it to you. They got Einstein, and you can make it. And then you're gonna start to test. If you want to scale, that's another story. Yeah, I think you muted yourself, Pascal.
Oh,
No,
Yeah,
it's
it's
okay. We have many examples of generative AI disruptive innovation in many markets, in particular medical fields. But what about specifically, what can you say about pharmaceutical companies? Do you have any idea, in your or secret sauce, on generative AI disruptive application for pharma companies?
So
maybe you don't want to share them, but
yeah, no, disruptive. I mean, I don't know. So we will have a lot probably in R&D, because we can probably use generative AI and large language models to generate new molecules, new proteins, and I know that there's a lot of people. So that would be massive disruption in a sense that you reduce the time to produce new product, and you can impact the market faster. In the commercial area, where we see, I don't know if it's disruption, but it's incremental amelioration, improvement, is everything around management of insights, data, market research, and all that. You can now drop all your market research, all your insights on a specific product, therapeutic area, or whatever, into a large language model and get validated on squares, which means you don't need that armada of people and systems and stuff when someone has a simple question. They can ask it to the system, and the system can be made available to all. So that's going to overall improve our scientific literacy and medical literacy as an organization.
Okay, we have a few more questions, but let's go on, and I will come back with some other questions.
Okay, so the sky is the limit with generative AI, right? So we'll take a deeper dive into our mapping of use cases, actual use cases with Gen AI, and I believe Thomas will say a few words about it.
Yeah, just before moving on, I think it was one of the points you started to address, the typical use case that we can see. Obviously, there is space for disruption, but mostly we can see that there will be incremental evolutions in all the functions. So with our partner at Indigene, but I know you've done the work yourself also, Florent at Grünenthal. I think that's one of the key steps. Start mapping the use cases. And we definitely see, as you can see on the screen right now, that most of the functions will be potentially impacted positively in terms of productivity, of production of content. I mean, you will be able to produce content faster, to implement segmentation faster. So many of the aspects of the commercial excellence will be affected. My personal point of view, and it was my initial thinking, is that all the functions related to omnichannel will be drastically impacted. But I know also, Florent, that you might have a different view on that, and that it could be also innovative to get out of the marketing and commercial space and maybe look at regulatory or legal or finance. So what's your take on the typical use case and how to prioritize them?
So at this stage, I would prioritize what is technically available, and that people start to get used to them instead of building big stuff in the background, because you don't know who's going to come in the market. And again, I'm talking from the position of a mid-sized pharma company. It may be different for the Sanofi, the AstraZeneca of the world, right? But for instance, legal, medical, regulatory approval process can be sped up using Gen AI. It can be sped up, definitely. Am I going to build something like that? No, I'm going to partner it with someone, and I'm going to use their tool, and I'm going to improve my own competitiveness. Then they will sell their product to other people, and that's fine for me. When it comes to next best actions, same thing. If you fast forward in 2 years, where will we be? Where should we be? We should be to a place where a customer connects to any kind of our systems, whether it is a webinar, a website, a marketing campaign, or whatever. We recognize that customer. We have that customer segmented on 250 or 300 dimensions. We know exactly what they have consumed, and we know what they like to consume. And we can, through AI, create on the fly, not only the next best action, but the next best content that is fit for that customer and that has been approved because we have changed the way we are doing the approval. Which means we get to that, one of my key moments in pharma was when I was talking to that specialist in New York, and I was asking her, what can I do for you? And she was telling me, what you can do for me, Florent, is that when I got a patient in front of me, I have a question on your product, and I need the answer in the next 20 seconds because that patient is in front of me. And I think with Gen AI, we will be able to deliver that level of service to those customers, which is today totally impossible for the normal farmer.
And I think before moving on, talking about the use cases, so that's, I mean, you gave great examples here. I think that it's up then to all the organization to find what are their starting point and then map their own use cases. But I think that's the power of starting with training, and our general approach with training was obviously to build general foundations, but also try to get people to manipulate the tool in a use case that looks like what could be different in their areas in the future. And as a key takeaway, obviously, we had fun and some experimentations, but there is also a bit of anchoring on then I can start, now that I've practiced a bit, I can start mapping really what will be my next actions on implementing Gen AI. So leveraging training to start the reflection on how to implement it is also a good practical way. And so it's also empowering for people because they practice a bit and then they start envisioning how they can apply it in their own field.
Completely.
Exactly. One of the biggest concerns now is what comes next. Once we're trained, how do we use all this? How do we reinvent professions? And we'll take the example of data analytics. I'll hand over to Lilian for a word on AI in BI, business intelligence.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Florent. So yeah, as you said, we want to help our team in their daily job. And so with Digital Pharma Lab, we decided to tackle this subject with BI. And so as Florent and Sarah pointed out, generative AI is super powerful. And it creates a new opportunity, and we decided to have this opportunity to put it into BI and mainly to connect AI with BI and a new generations of BI. So as you understand, we are talking about LLM, we are talking about data, BI, and so it means a good quality data. And this means a lot of sources of data, for instance, coming from pharmaceutical industry, startups, pharmacies, etc. And this variety of sources of data make it possible to have an accurate insight and relevant insights. And as we are talking about, LLM are awesome because now this new technology enables to treat a lot of data and above all, a lot of sorts of data. For instance, today we have a file on your computer with email, with reports. You have Excel file. You have, I don't know, statistics on some marketing campaigns. And now we can compute all of this sort of data, of this kind of data, thanks BI and LLM to pull out a relevant insight. So it's quite interesting and quite powerful. Finally, the idea is to use this insight, to use this data, and so we want to transform insight into actions. And in other words, in simple words, it's we want to make your data speak. And so for that, the idea is to address all the pipeline of sales. So we begin with, of course, marketing. With marketing, for instance, we have so business units specialized in that. And thanks to BI, we can have customer segmentation, we can have clustering, we can refine persona thanks to all this data. Then we pass through sales. We can have sales for forecasting, for instance, and finally, of course, customer success. So in other words, thanks to LLM, we can compute more data, we can compute more kind of data, and we can compute this faster. So now we can save this time to collect more data, more kind of data, and above all, we can use this time, spend this time into the constructions of a data-driven strategy. And so to finish, we are at the beginning of this incredible journey. So now I'm going to let Sarah and Florent to continue the discussion, the discussions about this wonderful adventure.
Thank you, Lilian. So what are your thoughts on this, Florent? Because I believe in your trainings you did have quite a big focus on data analytics, right?
That's a lot of what they do is manipulating Excel files, and we need to show them that GenAI can help them creating outcomes and generating insights out of data, even if you don't know how to write an Excel formula. And that's really cool. Now, just to react on what Lilian was saying, because I think that's super important. Very often for me, BI is synonym of bullshit intelligence. In a sense that it's just, let's say, sophisticated reporting. It's not at all intelligent. But let me give you an example of what's happening right now as we speak. In the US, we have access to the claims data, which means we know which patient got which product, which prescription, when, and by which doctor. We are using AI to pass through that data to identify which are the patients that are the most likely to be prescribed our product based on their history. And I can tell you that looking at the data, we have a very clear picture of those patients. Then we are using exactly the same claims data to know where those patients are being treated for comorbidities or further declared disease. So that tells us which HCPs and which accounts we need to be in, even before the patient is there, to create the possibility for that patient to benefit from our treatments. And all that is made possible because we're manipulating all the data through AI. We are talking about databases that are in the, if I recall well, something in the 700 megabytes of data just for one indication of one product in the US. So that's immense amount of data that you cannot pass through if you don't have AI at your fingertips to be able to create your business intelligence. And then you can assign your resources exactly where they can have an impact, a positive impact for the patient. And that's what I call business intelligence. So it's a critical domain in which AI and GenAI can really help.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you so much for these insights. Should we take a few more questions?
Okay. So there is a set of questions, Florent, about of course, data privacy, IP copyright issues with GenAI tools, and also how do you use secure tools to harness generative AI?
So yes, so since the beginning of our omnichannel journey, we have engaged with procurement, legal, compliance very intensively. We brought them on the journey. We co-wrote with them, for instance, our cookie policy, our e-consent policy, and all that, just to make sure we were making the best of GDPR and all the regulations, not only to be compliant and to avoid incidents, but to proactively communicate to our customers which data we are gathering and why we process that data. What is the intent behind the processing? That's the only way for us to keep the trust of our customers, our HCPs on our platforms. So yes, we are using secure tools for everything that contains internal IP, right? When we got our market research or stuff like that, of course, you cannot put that in the public place. I don't know what they would do with it if you put it outside. But when we educate people, we tell them, you can use the public tool with stuff you find on the internet. Like, if you want to understand how a generative AI can help you read a clinical paper in 10 seconds, you just go, you take a clinical paper that is available on internet, you drop it in ChatGPT, and then you start to talk to ChatGPT. And you will understand how it works like this. What we tell them, and we educate everyone who have issued corporate, recommendations on what to do internally and what you can do externally as well. The education of the people is super important.
Right.
Okay. When every farmer will be a Gen AI savvy across all the organization, what will be the next competitive advantage? How to still create competitive differentiation? It's a question. I think it's
and it's a very good question. So I think first, not everyone will be there at the same speed, and dinosaurs will die of massive extinction. More seriously, I think the real competitive differentiation between the companies are on the molecules, on the product, and on the impact you can really have for the patients. The more we go into specialty care, the less the marketing bullshit from the 90s is relevant. And when we compete, in fact, we are not really competing against someone. We are competing to make sure that the value proposition of our product for the right patient is understood by the physician, and that the physician can keep in mind that if he or she sees this patient, he or she should think about that product. And if we get to that point, that's competitive enough to have some kind of commercial success.
Right. It's a collaborative competition. Okay, so back to the questions. I think now we'll talk about your international strategy, Florent. So how have you organized the deployment of trainings in Grünenthal subsidiaries in your different countries?
Like a race? No, more seriously, we have so we partner with HR. HR is a key partner for us in all the capabilities we build. We've got competency frameworks. We got a holistic vision of how we want to upskill all our teams and keep them up to date. We created in multiple tests an ideal framework. It's a training of 1.5 days to 2 days, depending on how deeper you want to go, with a lot of teamwork together in the same room with some facilitators. So that's the format we chose. And then we propose it to the people. So we went to the leadership teams and say, okay, this is what we've done with those teams. This is the feedback. This is what you can get for it. Are you interested? And we got unanimous, yes, we're interested. And the only question is, when do you want it? And everyone comes to it. I mean, I'm totally sure that if you have a high quality training, the people understand the outcome of it and the direct impact on their work, everyone will ask for it.
So you've managed to engage cross-functional teams across all your different countries. But how did you get support from leaders then?
By bringing them on board early. So first, they are not surprised. You never surprise your customer. You should never surprise your customer. You should never surprise your boss either. They always, because they are the boss, they always need to look like they know more than the others. Otherwise, why would they be the boss? So you start by, educating them and making sure they are familiar and supportive, and then they reinforce your message. And, on something like Gen AI, as I said, if you just talk Gen AI, the investments are not massive. I mean, if you compare to a CRM implementation is hundreds of millions, implementing Gen AI at an organizational level, we are not talking about hundreds of millions of euros. So that's a lower investment, and they see very rapidly the value for the money, and that's super important to them. So they buy into it.
Okay, thank you. Do we have questions?
Yes, we still have questions. You generate a lot of questions. Gen AI is the generative, Florent. So the healthcare data is widely different within each institute or country. Would federated learning and analytics along with Gen AI work seamlessly?
That's a very, very good question, to which I do not have the answer, unfortunately. So, you know, I have a life principle that I try to influence what is around me before shooting longer. And I really think in a company already, if we manage to bring everyone on the same platform so that we got all the market research, all the insights, all the clinical studies, everything that is our own data and our own knowledge on a single platform that we can exploit with GenAI, it's already a massive upskill for the company capability, speed, reactivity, and that's something we can then build on to create, you know, kind of an alliance between same like-minded people across companies to go further. But again, you know, as I said, we are a mid-sized company. When I look at what's happening at the European Commission, I'm super happy that people are there to do that job because we don't have the capability to influence any of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was a final question as for now on skill and self-profile. Is HR a natural partner for you? But I think you already answered to that.
Yeah,
So-
no, HR is the key partner for us in everything that we do in terms of capabilities. And it goes from selection of the new candidates to you know, update of all the people that are already on the job.
Okay, let's move on to
Yes.
to Martin, and then we will conclude with Florent again with the last question, etc. So
Right, now we'll talk about reenchanting omnichannel with AI, because with Gen AI, we can wonder what does this mean in terms of change in segmentation, personalization, persona building, customer journey mapping. So I'll let Martin and Thomas, our omnichannel experts, discuss this.
Yeah, and we are really curious to hear your views on this. Obviously, I have also my personal point of view. Martin, we've been partnering for a couple of years now, trying to embark marketers, but also field forces on this omnichannel journey. And now we're getting a bit of traction and people start to adopt these new ways of working. And boom, then comes Gen AI, right? So another thing to adopt. But I believe that that's not two conflicting trends. Actually, one is feeding the other. So we'd like to hear your views on how, this Gen AI trend, but also long-lasting movement can synergize with this omnichannel journey, and how can we build better customer experiences through Gen AI?
Yeah, thanks, Amar. Thanks for asking that question. I think, you know, in the last couple of years, what we've seen is that there's a big willingness, right, to move towards omnichannel customer engagement. But the implications often are that you need to know and understand your customers. You need to optimize your data operations. You need to be able to track what happened with your customers. So a lot of things are touching in the, let's say, further sides of the organization to actually get the operation going so that you can practice omnichannel customer engagement. Meaning that you need to have your data input in the right place. You need to have your processes, your dashboards, your, let's say, input sources all in place before you can actually operationalize. And I think that we're getting there, but I think the last push actually that we need is the one we're getting from Gen AI, because we can now start to automate the data processing. We can start to have, let's say, a regularly updated view of what our customers do, where they are, what we have done with them. So we get a more and more live picture, which will allow us actually to start and learn from what we do. And I think that will be a big push, because if you want to practice omnichannel customer engagement well, you need to start to understand your customers. And I believe even because, of course, you know, personalization is a big thing. If we are very honest, now we're using segmentation, we're using personas. That's just an intermediate step, because we're still grouping customers. We're still trying to find the common denominator. With generative AI, we can fast track that approach, but also already start to look at true personalization. So what would it mean to go for 100% individualized customer engagement? Of course, there's a downside to that, because we should also ask ourselves the question, is that what the customer will want, right? Do customers really want us to know all in and outs of their doing? But to a certain level that will bring a lot of benefits to the customer as well. So I think that movement of really getting data led, data insight led, and making sure that we engage the customers in the way they would like to do the engagement with us will be a big push. Yes.
And I really like the fact that you highlighted that the GenAI is giving us the last push, the additional traction we need. What I observed is that when we train marketers on these new omnichannel ways of working and building campaigns, and the evolution of all the organization, we ask more elements, more skills, we ask more to our marketers. Basically, we ask them to know how to read KPIs, how to build personas, how to build customer journeys, how to build campaigns, master all the different type of channels. And obviously, that's a lot of different elements to master. We ask them to be now a bit more like the omnichannel managers that we had back in the days. I think with GenAI, you can help your marketers to go a bit faster on all these new tools and channels and capabilities they need to master. So as Florent said, if you are a bit lazy like me on using Excel files, you can talk to your Excel files now with ChatGPT or Copilot. Same if you have a content and you want to have different variations of your content for different personas, you can ask GenAI to do that. Same if you don't know how to build a customer journey with all the contents you have, you can ask some ideas to a GenAI. So all these steps we've been teaching now, which were hard skills to master, they can get GenAI support to do that, and they don't need to master all these skills we're trying to fit into one profile. So I'm thinking mostly product managers, but same for sales reps. We asked more and more for sales reps to be able to personalize, and I think GenAI can help them achieve all these new tasks they have at hand. I see you smiling, Florent. Maybe you have a take on this too.
Yeah, no, but I think that's very true. I think the everyone needs to be re-educated, kind of, on their job and how it's to be done. They need to be educated on the vendors, on detecting the usage of GenAI in the agency work, because we need to change the way we do the contracts as well. Like today, we call a communication agency to do a campaign. Those guys call people in India to do the campaign. And the guy in India is smart. So he's going to use GenAI to do the campaign. So he does a campaign in 10 seconds. And then suddenly you pay 100,000 euro for something that took 10 seconds to a guy in India to do with GenAI. And if you do that, you're a fool, right? So I think we need to re-educate all the people around all that continuum to make sure they deliver value.
Yeah, and I think to that, right, I think we need to start thinking upstream. So asking the right questions is going to be the key thing here, right? So really educating people to do the prompts well, but also to keep in mind how to set the prompts in a way that still allow us to, let's say, connect to our customers. I'm a big fan of Tim Leberecht's work, who wants to keep the romance into the business. And I think that will be actually a key point, because if you really think it through, right, although we all understand that the quality of engagement will go up, there's also maybe even you could say, and I'm not sure if that will happen, but there's a potential loss of engagement, meaning that if we bring in the quality, it goes up, but also on the other end, the customers can actually start to ask the same questions they would ask a rep to the same systems. So the access to information and to insights will grow at the customer level as well, meaning that the need for engagement will potentially go down. So we need to balance that out. We need to find the right way of what the engagement and the personal relation and the profile of the company actually means. So bringing in a bit of romance and trying to also find, service, maybe even some friction in how to obtain the relation and build more value through the engagement is going to be very pivotal, I think.
And I think this really goes to the optimization. I mean, there is also a bit of optimization in omnichannel, and thanks to digital channels, you can do a bit more engagement with less resources. That's also the point sometimes. So I think when you talk about that romance, and I think GenAI is also bringing up the question of what's the space for human relationship and human interactions. So you can actually go faster on, building a variation of a content or a summary of an article. So then you have a quicker base to start a human discussion over some content that was easy to generate. So then it brings more space for human and meaningful interactions. So that's a really interesting debate, but I think we might have more questions and more topic to cover. So handing over again to Sarah or Pascal for the questions.
Yes, there are questions and comments. Florent, how do you share the impact of AI tools across the organization? Very often we have tools, but the use case and the impact is somehow missing. So has there been a highlight for you and the teams that have brought more people on board than others?
So again, here we learn from our omnichannel story and adventure. Everyone went full blast, we need to go omnichannel. And then at some point, we had a CFO who was like, okay, but what's the ROI? And we're like, holy crap, we didn't think about that. So we backtracked everything and we recalculated, and that was a pain. Can we count this, not that? No. We demonstrated the ROI, so the topic is behind us, but we learned from that on AI. So for every single AI implementation, we ask a very simple thing to the people who are going to lead it, which is, what is your business ambition? What is your business opportunity? And how much of it do you want to capture it? And by when and how are we going to measure that? And then we have, we had more than 100 use cases. We have mapped them against the business ambition, so the impact it could have on our business, and the readiness of the technology to realize that ambition. And then we said, we have all the ones we are going to launch needs to be bringing a real ambition and needs to be quantifiable so that we can come back to the business and say, by doing this pilot, we have proven we could generate that amount of, benefits for the organization.
Do you think that, thank you very much. Do you think that Gen AI capabilities will allow marketers to focus more on strategic thinking, or are they going to be, Gen AI specialists?
Yeah. If they are born with strategic capabilities, probably. It's just like, no, not all marketeers are capable of strategic thinking, unfortunately. But yes, like definitely not having to do the laundries of marketing will help some of them focus on their customer, focus on their patient, and really try to develop things that are going to make them have a better customer experience.
Okay, Sarah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Florent, do you have any final thoughts? Do you know what's next? Do you have any more AI on the horizon?
Well, I just think, we are at a really pivotal moment from, a society standpoint, from a business standpoint, that everything is open. And my only word to the people would be, just go, try it, and experiment, and have fun and make mistakes. As long as you don't make like deadly mistake, putting your customer data on the internet or, private IP from the company and all that. I mean, it's a harmless space, more or less, but you can do so much more, and you need to learn and invent your own usage of AI. Like, what we do today, we've got that webinar, right? In 3 months from now, we're going to pass that webinar through an AI, and I'm going to deliver that in Spanish because the person on the other side of the screen will be Spanish speaker and will see my lips moving and saying Spanish. And I'm going to be, I can put Spanish on my LinkedIn,
Right. That's absolutely possible. Well, thank you so much for your valuable insights, the two of you, Martin and Florent. And now talking for the audience, if you have any final questions. If not, we are going to share a QR code. You can reach out to us if this topic has interested you. You can book with us a Flash AI training for free, or a demonstration on our Gen AI solutions, or with Lilian, a meeting on BI. So you can book a call with us through this QR code, or you can just send an email. We'll send you the address in the chat. Thank you so much for listening.
And there is also
and there is a satisfaction survey as well coming to the end. So please don't hesitate to share your thoughts on this.
We need it.
Yes. Do we have any final questions?
Yes, there will be a final question, Florence, so don't go away. We discuss AI, we discuss BI, maybe afterwards CI, DI, etc. But we will stop there. Well, what about CI, customer intelligence, or PI, personalized intelligence? That's clever. I don't know who asked the question, but great question. Funny.
Well, am I allowed to say I don't know? I'm very bad at predictions. No, I didn't predict the internet, though I was on it since 1985 using it. I didn't predict the rise of AI, though I was writing, neural network, same thing in the 80s. And I abandoned the ship with everyone saying this is going nowhere. So I would not make a prediction. The only thing I can say is it starts to be everywhere, and it's going to be everywhere definitively in 1 year from now. So we will have to live with it, whether we like it or not. So better get ready to use that tool.
Okay, I think it's the final words.
Yes, thank you so much. Again, it was an honor to have you. To the audience, don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Good day.